In 2024, an anime adaptation dropped that had viewers absolutely losing their minds. Forums exploded, Twitter went feral, or X if you are that guy, and for good reason. The animation was crisp, my bro. The soundtrack went unnecessarily hard. And the protagonist? Well, he got everything. Every single thing under the sun. Welcome to BitViews, Aura Farmers. Let's dig in. There is this thing that happens when you are deep in a particularly engaging video game. You know the feeling. You have been grinding for hours. Your character has gone from a wet noodle with a rusty sword to basically a god who sneezes and accidentally commits genocide. And in that moment, wrapped in your blanket at 3 a.m., empty energy drink cans forming a defensive perimeter along your gaming chair, you feel powerful. Solo Leveling understands this feeling. It doesn't just understand it. It mainlines it directly into your eyeballs with the force of 1,000 suns. And watching Son Jin-Woo's journey from the weakest E-rank hunter to whatever god tier classification he ends up as, it's like watching someone play live with cheat codes enabled. Which brings us to an interesting question. What happens when you take the power fantasy to its absolute logical extreme? Let's start with our protagonist, because, and I cannot stress this enough, this man is living the life that every mobile game ad has ever promised you. Remember this? Yep, you know what you're looking at. Solo Leveling said, what if we made that, but good? And in the world of Solo Leveling is like a semi-fantasy world, like South Korea exists, so that's for one. And then there are these portals and creatures come from those portals, and like similar to what happens in The Witcher, and apparently, people get this awakening and they get ranked according to their magic powers, and then they pick jobs but according on their nature, and they get one rank, and sometimes they can be reawakened, but most of the time they get whatever rank they get, and that's it. And it's basically like, what if a real JRPG system got into the real world and people actually knew what a JRPG was or an RPG was, so they actually kind of play by those rules, so they have armors and raids and all that. So in that world, our protagonist Jin-Woo gets a unique leveling system that only he can see, aka the system. Infinite growth potential while everyone else is hard-capped, yes, because he is the only one that can level up. An army of shadow soldiers who call him my liege, unironically. And the ability to look good in literally any outfit the animators put him in. I really mean any outfit. And this power, it affects everything around him, especially how other characters react to him. Which, let's do a mini parenthesis here. It's not that type of video, but we do need to talk about it. We need to talk about the women in Solo Leveling. Because here's the thing. Every single female character falls for him. Not through meaningful interaction or shared experiences. No. Not because of his personality, which, let's be honest, Poe's power-up consists mainly of stoic and mysterious. But no, they fall for him because he's strong. Take Cha Hain, which I am hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. Hunter Cha, or Cha Hunter, as they say in the show. She goes from being this badass S-rank hunter to, and I am not exaggerating here, literally sniffing him because he smells nice, contrary to other hunters. Her entire character arc so far becomes strong woman discovers stronger man, immediately develops crush. And this pattern repeats with every female character. The healer from the early episodes? Crush. The B-rank hunter who monitors him? Crush. The random employee at the Hunters Association? You guessed it, crush. It's like Jin-Woo exudes some kind of pheromone that specifically targets women in a 50-foot radius. Which I guess maybe that's his real power. Which is fascinating when you think about it. Because this is exactly what the power fantasy promises, isn't it? Not just strength, but everything that supposedly comes with it. Recognition, respect, and yes, romantic attention. Solo leveling just stays the quiet part out loud. The thing is, and trust me, if you didn't realize that until this point, now from now on, you will realize. Every time you see solo leveling, you will realize that every single character that is a female just immediately crushes on him, because why not, right? He's lovely, I love him. Please notice me. But this approach to storytelling, taking what you want without much consideration for deeper meaning, becomes really apparent in season 2, because the show decides to tackle something ambitious. It introduces an ant arc. Now, if you are an anime fan, your brain probably just made a connection. Ants? In an anime? Where have I seen this before? Where have I seen this before? Hunter x Hunter's Chimera Ant arc is, how do I put this? It's 61 episodes of philosophical exploration disguised as a shonen battle arc. It asks questions like, what separates humans from beasts? Can absolute power learn to love? What is the value of a single human life? It takes the concept of evolution and power and turns it into a meditation on humanity itself. Solo leveling looked at this and thought, ants are cool, let's do ants. And to be fair, they are very cool ants. But that's the pattern with solo leveling, isn't it? It takes the surface, the aesthetic, the cool factor, and runs with it. Where Hunter x Hunter spent episodes upon episodes building to a philosophical crescendo that had grown men crying over a board game, solo leveling asks the much simpler question: what if Jin-Woo fought some big ants and looked cool while doing it? And mind you, this isn't necessarily a criticism. Not everything needs to be deep. Not everything needs to change your life. But it's worth noting because it perfectly encapsulates what solo leveling is. It's the Cliff Notes version of anime tropes, executed with a budget that will make most studios weep with envy. And speaking of that budget, we need to talk about the elephant in the room, or rather, the beautifully animated, gorgeously composed, symphonically scored elephant in the room. A1 Pictures didn't just understand the assignment. They turned in extra credit, a PowerPoint presentation, and baked cookies for the class. Every frame of this show looks like it was personally blessed by the animation gods. It's incredible. Me, as a person that grew up with Dragon Ball Z and then went into Naruto, is still watching One Piece, and we know how we are going about, oh, One Piece animation now is good. No, it's not that good. Oh, what are they doing with Sanji? Not really. What are they doing with Sanji? Not really. Not really. What are they doing with Sanji? I look at this and I just think, like, man, can you imagine one of the shows from my youth? Or I guess my current age, because One Piece never ends, but done with this level of perfectionism? This thing is amazing. This is beautiful. The shadow effects alone are teaching a masterclass in how to animate supernatural powers. The way they use color theory to distinguish between the real world and the gate dungeons, the subtle character animation that sells Jin-Woo's transformation from nervous weakling to confident badass. And don't get me started with the shadows. The shadows are in 3D most of the time. The shadows attack in 3D most of the time. And that 3D is done beautifully. That 3D is giving me back my faith in animation and humanity after what Berserk 2016 and 2017 did to me and my life. What the hell? Every time I hear a piece of metal, like a frying pan or something, hitting the ground, I think of the Dragon Slayer, because that thing traumatized me greatly. And every time I see a puppet show, Or I see the Muppets, I think of Guts in that show because those guys really didn't know how to animate in 3D, didn't know how to do anything in 3D, and they picked the worst show to do it. Don't even get me started, but that's the difference between good leadership and bad leadership. And the team at A1 Pictures, they know how to do this stuff. They completely got this pinned down. And then Hiroyuki Sawano shows up with a soundtrack that has no right going this hard. Yes, we can talk about the openings and the endings and the value and all that, but this man scored every fight like the fate of the universe hangs in the balance. Even when Jin-Woo is basically playing Dynasty Warriors in a C-rank monster dungeon. Which creates this fascinating paradox. All this incredible talent, all this technical excellence, in service of a story that's essentially, well, let's call it uncomplicated. It's like hiring Gordon Ramsay to make you a grilled cheese sandwich. Sure, it's going to be the best damn grilled cheese sandwich you ever had, but at the end of the day, it's still a grilled cheese sandwich. But here's what's interesting. Sometimes that grilled cheese has truffle oil and aged cheddar. Sometimes Solo Leveling remembers it has the ingredients for something more. The core of Jin-Woo's motivation isn't actually power for power's sake. It's his family. And I think a lot of people overlook this because, well, he looks cool and yeah, he kills a lot of things and Okido and all that. But his mother, comatose from the eternal sleep disease. His sister trying to get into college. When the show remembers this, when it takes a breath between power-ups to actually explore this, why Jin-Woo fights, it works. God help me, it actually works. Because buried under all the power fantasy nonsense is a very human story about a young man trying to save his family. So everyone can relate to this in some degree or capacity, to this strong connection, to this sense of duty. Or just look at who Jin-Woo was before the system. He was the weakest E-rank hunter who stayed. Even when he was terrified, even when every instinct told him to run, he stayed to help others escape. That's not a power fantasy, that's character. And I feel that that gets buried a lot under the power fantasy aspects. And that's why, yes, I wanted to get the power fantasy elements out of the room first. Like, yes, every female loves him, and yes, he has everything under the sun, and he has all the aura. But he cares about everyone else. That's what makes him likable, relatable even. These moments feel like glimpses of what Solo Leveling could have been if it was interesting in being more than popcorn entertainment. They are proof that somewhere in the writing room, someone understood that power without purpose is just empty calories. But then, the next episode airs and we are back to Jin-Woo solo clearing a dungeon while women gasp appreciatively in the background, and that potential gets buried under another layer of rule of cool. Which brings us to an interesting question. In an anime landscape that's increasingly interested in deconstruction and depth, where does Solo Leveling fit? Look at what it's competing with. Frieren is making people existentially anxious about the passage of time. Jujutsu Kaisen, when it wants to come back, is asking what it means to have a proper death, while dismantling shonen protagonist tropes. Chainsaw Man is doing whatever beautiful insanity Fujimoto cooked up that week. But even that has more to say about human connection than Solo Leveling. And mind you, as we will explore in one video in the future, I hope, I am not the biggest fan of Chainsaw Man at all. In this context, Solo Leveling feels almost refreshingly honest, you know? It's not pretending to be more than what it is. While other shows are out there playing 4D chess with their themes, Solo Leveling is playing checkers, and winning by making every piece a king. There is something to be said for that level of commitment to the beat, in a weird way. Solo Leveling's complete lack of shame about being pure power fantasy makes it more genuine than shows that try to have their cake and eat it too. And sometimes that's all you want, sometimes you just want someone that tells you the thing the way it is, and Solo Leveling is just that. It's like, listen, you want to see cool stuff? You want to see what's essentially a good guy doing good things and being very cool and fighting in the Aura farming tournament? Then there you have it. Like, no crazy ideas, no pretensions to be something else, just pure fun. So here's the truth about Solo Leveling. It's the most 6 out of 10 that feels like a 10 out of 10 anime I have ever seen. It knows exactly what it is, a perfectly executed power fantasy that delivers exactly what it promises on the tin. Nothing more, nothing less. It's shallow, but gorgeously animated shallow. It's repetitive, but with a soundtrack that makes every repetition feel like the climax of Return of the King. How many times can they make the whole, oh no, but you are E rank, and then he surprises everyone? Well, they do that quite a few times until the story said like, well, I guess we need to move from this. And he still pulled that trope. I mean it, counted every time that he appears like, oh, this guy is not that good, and then he becomes that good. It's basically One Punch Man. Have you guys realized it's basically One Punch Man, but without the silliness? And maybe that's exactly what we need sometimes. In a media landscape full of complex narratives and challenging themes, there's something almost therapeutic about watching numbers go up and fights look cool. It's the anime equivalent of a summer blockbuster, designed to be consumed, enjoyed, and not thought about too hard. But I keep coming back to those moments, those brief flashes where Solo Leveling shows us what it could be. When Jin-Woo saves his mother, I think about it. When he refuses to abandon his teammates, I think about that. When the story remembers that power is only as interesting as what you do with it, I think about that. Those moments make me wonder, what if Solo Leveling had taken that incredible animation, that phenomenal soundtrack, that clearly talented team, and aim just a little bit higher? Obviously, you need to run away from the source material and all that, you know what I mean, but what if it had asked not just how strong can Jin-Woo become, but what does strength really mean? I guess we'll never know, but hey, at least he looks cool as all hell, right? Damn!